guys and welcome to my blog. This is our 7th video and today we'll be reviewing Murder on the Orient Express chapters 19, 20 and 21, or as we call them, it's chapter 11, 12 and 13 of part 2. So let's get right into it. So guys, chapter 11. Now what happens is chapter 11? Well, we are proceeding with the interviews to the passengers, and in this case it's the turn of Mary Debenham. So she's called in for questioning, and she states that she's 26-year-old and from England. And while recalling the night of the murder, well, she says that she had dinner and she went straight to bed and slept. She slept the whole night, except that she was awoken at 5 a.m. approximately, and that it was because she felt like the train had stopped. Now, what's really interesting about this part is that she peered out to see what was going on, why the train had stopped, and she did saw the woman in the red scarlet kimono. However, she describes her as tall and quite thin. Proceeding with the interview, we find out that the woman sharing the compartment with Mary is Greta Olson, and that she was the last woman to see Ratchet alive. Mary reacts to Ratchet dead or is almost non-existent. She hardly notices him on the first day of the train, and so she doesn't really act surprised nor interested in the case. What we do know is that her kimono, it's a pale color in which we have seen previously in the Tara Express, and that Greta's kimono, it's brown and it's made of natural wool. Now, we know that Greta is really worried that she's one of the main suspects because she knows that she's one of the last women or person that saw Ratchet alive. Now, why is Greta so worried? Because she left her compartment at about 10:30 p.m. to give Mrs. Hubbard an aspirin, and then she returned, and in the process she saw Ratchet. However, when asking Dr. Constantine, they asked if the death or the murder could happen so early in the night. However, it was ruled out that it was too early, and so Hercule asks Mary to inform Greta that to stay calm and that she is not a suspect. Okay, and so that's about it for chapter 11, and now moving on with chapter 12 or chapter 20. Okay, so in chapter 12 we have a discussion between the doctor, Hercule and Book of why he suspects of Mary, and this is mainly because of the conversation he overheard in the Taurus Express between the colonel and Mary, of the phrases that we will be able to when it's all over, and because he says that the murder was very cautiously planned and strategically, and he says that the person that had to do it has to be really cool and like cold-blooded, and yet in a way that it's able to keep calm and to show a physique that is not bothered. So Mary's currently a suspect, and in the chapter there's also the last passenger called in for questions. And so this last passenger interviewed is Hildegard Schmidt. It's the maid of Princess Dragomirov, and Hercule is quite calm with her. He has another approach than the one he used with Mary, and so she's asked, as all the passengers, what she did the night before, and well, she says that she had dinner and that she went straight to bed up until she was awoken by the princess who required her attention, and this confirming the Princess Dragomirov alibi, since she went to read to her and to give her a message, which was what the princess earlier stated. Afterwards, while the maid is returning to her room, in the corridor, she hears the bell ringing, Mrs. Hubbard's ringing, and from 2 or 3 compartments next to the princess one, we see the conductor getting out from the compartment, and that he's running. He's quite in a rush. However, he doesn't answer Mrs. Hubbard's bell, but he almost crashes into her, and so Hercule requests to Book to bring on the night conductors that were taking care of the corridor, and she doesn't recognize any of them. She says that the man that he's running was dark and really small, and So we now have another mystery. Who was the man that was inside the compartment? Okay, and so that's a wrap for chapter 12 or chapter 20. And now moving for the last chapter of today's blog is chapter 21 or chapter 13 of part 2. So let's not lose any time and let's get right in. Okay, so in this last chapter of today's blog, what happens is that after the interview, the maid and the conductors are dismissed, and so Book and Hercule are having a discussion. They are talking about the possible theories of the murder, and so while discussing these, Hercule only has one thing straight: is that he was stabbed 12 times, and the time that it happened. However, he has three possible theories in which I will further explain right now. So the first part of the three possible theories is that the crime was committed indeed at 11:15 a.m. or according to what the maid and Mrs. Hubbard heard, it was committed later on the night. However, it was fake that happened at 1:15 a.m. Or else the last theory is that it occurred before 11:15 a.m. and that it was fake that it happened at that time. After, the mystery is who is this small man with womanish voice that was described by Harvard and by the maid. So we know that Hartman's alibi was confirmed by Hilgrad with saying that she also saw that man. However, there's no confirmation, but Hercule thinks that he can trust the what Hartman said. However, he finds some parts to be quite interesting, as all the conductors have been searched and there's no man looking like that. So the possible theory is that either they are hiding him on the train or that several people committed the murder inside the train. Now, another part that is important is the bottom found in Mrs. Hubbard's room, which confirms what the maid said, that she saw a conductor getting out of a room. And also, she confirms the alibi of McQueen by saying, and Hartman by saying that she did see a conductor passing by at night. So the footsteps that the men heard are indeed true. Okay guys, so now that's a wrap for today's blogs of chapters 11, 12, and 13 of part 2, or chapters 19, 20, and 21. Now, how do I feel about these chapters? Do I like them? Personally, they are great. They are awesome. And now, why? Because we're starting to get to the climax. Now it's the time when things are getting done, when it's really getting real, where we're getting there, when we're seeing that more people have similar alibis, which is kind of suspicious. How do they have all seen the dark small man with womanish voice? I mean, and they have similar characteristics when describing the characters, so that's quite interesting. We're seeing some clues. We have some drama in each chapter, as we have some theories. We have a theory that the murder could not be done by one person, but maybe by multiple. So that's a theory that maybe for some of you that have been keeping track of your clues, are starting to connect the dots and feel like maybe it just wasn't one person. So it's quite interesting to see it in another perspective. But also, what I love about the ending of these three chapters is that at the end we have a complete plot twist, with the appearance of the bloody knife suddenly appearing in Mrs. Hubbard's things. So that will be quite interesting to see how this keeps developing in the story, and to see how Hercule will eventually solve the case, as even though he's considered one of the greatest detectives in the world, he seems quite confused. He seems quite stressed that he just can't piece it all together and just point out the murder. But I think that ideally we can see him that he's trying to go past beyond that, and that we'll eventually have a solution. So stay tuned for better chapters and for getting ready to the climax of the book, and I'll see you next week.